Down the Biscayne.
Yikes. 5 on the floor. Ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, inspire, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Welcome back to the latest edition of 5 on the Floor post-game as we recap the action from the Kaseya Center as the Miami Heat defeated the Orlando Magic in what was a hotly contested game. Wasn't always a pretty game, but it was a hotly contested game. I am your host, Greg Sylvander. Today's floor plan with me, not only will you have our playback extraordinary, Eternal Bast, but also I'm going to say a special guest because we don't get you often enough. Well, we have Gad Cartegena. You can see his on the screen now. Follow both of these dudes on X, Eternal Bast and Gad Cartegena. They're also on playback as well. Thank both of you gentlemen for joining me. We're going to dive into all of the action as it relates to the Miami Heat's victory over the Orlando Magic. This was a big one for them. I'll tell you a couple reasons why in a minute. Before we do, I do want to call out to everybody that we do have our off-the-floor Discord server. This is super cool. So it's basically, we used to have Off the Floor, which was a text message service. We've moved to Discord. This is where you're going to be able to get all these different chat channels, host updates, the main thing chat, which is basically all things Heat related. But we have a million other different chats, insider updates, stats, analysis, video breakdowns. It's super cool. $2.99 a month from desktop, $3.99 from your Apple device. This is where you need to go. Off the Floor. Make sure you click and then click through the app so that you can get to the payment part. Don't just click on it and then you won't see anything initially when you sign up. So I'm just calling it out. Off the Floor. Come hang out with us. It's the best place to talk Heat. All right, y'all. So this game was crazy. 99-96 was the final score. The Heat finally come out plus on a fourth quarter, 24-23, and they get this victory. A couple things that I just want to note before we dive into initial takeaways, both from Eternal and from Gad. The Heat are now a perfect 8-0 in division games this season. And they currently they've won 21 straight divisional home games. That is the longest active streak in the NBA, as well as the longest streak in franchise history. You heard that correctly. 21 straight divisional home games the Heat have now won. This is also Miami's franchise record, 8th straight home victory over the Orlando Magic. It also includes 13 of the last 16 against Orlando. Miami has won. So a team that was once a thorn in Miami's side, no longer so much so, at least recently. Gad, I'll start with you. Just initial takeaways coming hot off of the end of that game. We'll get into the final shot later, but just your initial thoughts.
I'm not going to be fooled by some of the percentages from this game where 44-31 splits, not the greatest, right? I liked the offensive process that this team brought tonight. I think the ball movement was really, really good, specifically with Nikola Jovic on the floor with the starters. I think you're starting to see some flashes of what like a Bam, Nikola Jovic front court can look like. And credit to Jovic, man. His development, obviously every Heat fan would love for that to be fast-tracked, right? It's not the prettiest. It hasn't been the prettiest, but the last couple of games, we're really starting to see the vision of what Nikola Jovic can be for this team in the future. And I know Eternal is loving me saying this because he is the most pro Jovic. And listen, credit to him. He's seen a lot of the vision. Like a lot of the things that Eternal has talked about, they're coming to fruition a little bit. We're starting to see some of that coming and showing itself. And it's really fun development to watch. You see the ball popping with the starting lineup. Duncan, Bam, Haywood, Jovic. Before the season, you probably would have looked at me and said, yeah, this team's not beating the Orlando Magic. And I understand the Orlando Magic are missing players too, but we're missing Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry. The ball still moved. Every single player on the floor tonight, correct me if I'm wrong, had an assist, 23 assists on 37 makes. Listen, man, good ball movement. And I know that tends to be one of the things that happens when some of the players are outside of the Heat starting lineup. I would love to see them try to incorporate that with all the players healthy in the lineup. But I like what I'm seeing from the Heat in terms of ball movement. If they can keep this going, this can make the offense look a lot cleaner. And yes, they scored 99 points, but if they don't miss layups tonight, this game is probably more in like the 110, 115 range for the Miami Heat.
Very true. I love that you brought up Jovic because I thought that he had a really big impact on the game, and you kind of forget about it once it gets close at the end and he's not in there. So credit to you for bringing him up. Jaime Jaquez and Duncan Robinson did close, and both were really instrumental in the way that they finished Eternal. We'll hone in on Jaquez first because it's unbelievable to watch this dude intuitively find ways to score and just be relentless with his approach. Loved what I saw from him tonight, but as well as Duncan Robinson, you talk about the ball whipping around. It's finding Duncan, and now Duncan is doing things like going to the basket and getting layups and getting these little like push shots at the rim that he didn't used to be able to have. Eternal. Jaime first, Duncan second. What did you like most that we saw from both of those guys offensively tonight?
Well, we saw a little bit more of Jaime on ball tonight. And I just think he was 50% from the line. 50% from the field, 8 of 16 from the floor, 23 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Like Gad said, the ball was moving. It wasn't the greatest all the time, right? Like, we're not going to lie to you and say like all night they were a high octane offense, because it wasn't that. But you can see some of the processes that they were trying to get to. And at times the ball was very crisp. And I think Jaime, sometimes in the mid post, was able to make the right pass to the guy cutting or, drawing attention and kicking it out. And there was just a lot to be really, really excited about watching him hoop tonight. I mean, we've kind of gotten to a point this season where you just kind of expect Jaime to be really good, man. And it's just a testament to the Heat scouting and draft and the way that they develop guys and be able to see what guys can pop with them. And Jaime has definitely done that. It's not like he didn't see some good defenders tonight, because he did. Jalen Suggs is a really, really good defender. Cole Anthony is a good defender. He saw some Apollo, and it just didn't matter. It didn't matter. He was still able to get to the rim. Now, was he able to finish all the times that he got to the rim? No, but it's the fact that he was able to still create that rim pressure. So that was great to see. And as far as Duncan goes, we see the pick and roll action with him and Bam. He can feed Bam a lot of times. He didn't get the lobs that he wanted to tonight with Bam, but it was just some good process. The thing, Greg, you got 40 points between them. You got 40 points between Jaquez and Robinson tonight. And I just think, hey, there's something to be excited about.
Hats off to both of those guys because they needed it, right? They're undermanned, and this is a tough Orlando team. Now they got to fly to Oklahoma City. I bet you they mail that one in. This is the game Orlando wanted to get, as far as I'm concerned. And now it's a situation where they got to fly to Oklahoma City, play them tomorrow. And so it was going to be a hotly contested game. But there was one dude who stood out, and I bet everybody who's listening and watching so far is like, how the hell did y'all start this show and y'all haven't brought this up yet? Let's go to it now. The Rocky Sports Gamer of the Night.
And now on 5 on the Floor, it's time for the Gamer of the Night, sponsored by Rock Esports Center, the place to eat, drink, and play all day. Host your next birthday party with them. Located at 15305 South Dixie Highway in Palmetto Bay. They've got a 5,500 square foot state-of-the-art center equipped with all the high-end power. Play all day passes available for just $25, but if you mention 5 reasons, it's just $20. So mention 5 reasons or 5 RSN. You get to play all day for $20. And now, the Gamer of the Night.
Y'all know the Gamer of the Night. You know where I'm going. I'm biased, and I ain't afraid to say it. No ceiling. Bam Adebayo, 21 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. Counting stats aside, it was all about what he did in the fourth quarter. He's been Mr. Fourth Quarter lately. He was Mr. Fourth Quarter tonight. He had huge buckets down the stretch, huge defensive plays down the stretch, battling for every loose ball. Gad, I don't know if I have enough adjectives to describe how much I think Bam Adebayo has ascended this season offensively into a real go-to player. What did you like most from him?
I think he answered the call. This team undermanned. They started well. The ball was moving, and then there was moments where the game was in flux a little bit. Throughout the entire game, they would get up, they'd lose a lead, they'd get up, they'd lose a lead, and ultimately down the stretch, you said, "Bam, take us home." And what did Bam do? He took him home. He took him home. You keep looking for defining moments in Bam Adebayo's like NBA career and how he started with the Miami Heat. He's gone from kind of backup big to guy who has really good games at times and guys who just floats at times. And now he's developing into a guy where you can go into a game with Bam Adebayo as your best player against an objectively good Orlando Magic team with an objectively good star in Paolo Banchero, and they can go head to head, and Bam Adebayo can come out on top in the fourth quarter. Because Paolo, he hit those back-to-back jumpers where he absolutely deserved to win the game. We can talk about the miss that he had at the end, but that's not really important because we're talking about Bam here. Bam came down. His team had one possession, gave him the opportunity to give them the win, and he came through. You want Bam to have that confidence. He's hitting those jumpers now. He will be continuing to hit those jumpers come playoff time, and that's really important for this team because ultimately that's what his game is right now. He's a little bit of a jump shooter, and that's okay if you're going to make the shots. Tonight he made the shot, so we're all happy about it, and credit to Bam, man. That's a big win against a good team.
It definitely is. Also a defensive team that they kind of pride themselves on getting stops on guys. That's what they hang their hat on in Orlando. That's not an offensive bunch, even if they're not 100%. And they came through tonight. Another dude I wanted to definitely call out as a gamer of the night was Caleb Martin. He had 7 of his 11 points in the fourth quarter. I thought that was huge. We saw Caleb come back from injury tonight, get some run. It wasn't all pretty, but he definitely stepped up late. Eternal, do you think Caleb Martin, where do you think he's going to help this team most? Because it's a situation where I know that they can take every athletic wing possible, and his athleticism helps. But I almost think there were parts of this game where his ball handling and his ability to get them organized late were helpful in ways that maybe I'm underestimating, and I'm interested to pick your brain on where you think he's going to help the team most now that he's back.
As Ethan likes to say, alpha male, just an alpha role player, right? And so I think that's the thing that probably Caleb brings is that he doesn't allow the situation to feel too big for him. Even if you may not agree with the shot profile, like sometimes Caleb can take some shots where you're just like, I don't agree with that, but it's the fact that he's willing to take those shots and he's not afraid of the moment, right? Like we saw that in the playoffs last year, whether from the first round to the third round or whatever. And I think tonight, it took him to the fourth quarter to start getting going. But once you saw it, I mean, like you said, he scored 7 points and it was 5 straight that Caleb got. And, being able to get to the rim and those things, you can never have too much rim pressure on your team. So I just think having Caleb back is definitely a plus in that direction.
Definitely. So another plus in this direction was the Insurance by Lynette, a aggressive play of the night, which we're going to dive into next.
And now it's time for the Insurance by Lynette Play of the Night, sponsored by InsuranceByLynette.com, an A-aggressive insurance agency. You can reach out to our friend Lynette at 954-581-8800. That's 954-581-8800, or InsuranceByLynette.com. That's InsuranceByLynette.com with 2 N's and 2 T's. Your best play for auto insurance, homeowners insurance, condo insurance, life insurance, or a retirement program. Reach out to Lynette at InsuranceByLynette.com.
So sorry for the awkward, silent pause right there. The play of the night, I think we all know which one it is. Bam Adebayo put this team up for good in a way that was huge. It was a go-to move. It was an inbounds play. You know what, Gad, you're going to articulate this better than me. Why don't you draw up this beautiful inbounds play? It was underneath the basket. I think Jaime Jaquez took it out. Take me the rest of the way.
If I'm being completely honest with you, I don't know if I can articulate it because that's one of those moments where I saw the ball go up, I saw it get in Bam's hands, and for about 5 seconds, I was thinking, Bam has to take the shot. Bam has to take the shot. And I was waiting for someone to prove me wrong, where like Duncan or anybody else running around the perimeter, just hunting for a handoff. And we didn't see it. We didn't even see that action run, which to me is really important because we've seen that a lot in Bam's career, where they will turn around and say, okay, we're going to put the ball on somebody else and maybe let somebody else make the play for Bam. Here, they just said, Bam, you're the guy. You have the matchup. Take the shot. Take us home. And he did it. Like, I personally cannot articulate exactly the X's and O's of what was drawn up because I just lost it in that moment. Maybe Eternal can. But listen, man, they called on Bam's number and Bam answered. And that, to me, is very important because having a player of this caliber being able to make those types of plays is really good. And maybe I just want to throw this question around. We could look at a situation where it isn't just plays being drawn up for Jimmy Butler at the end of games. Maybe they look at a matchup one time and they say, okay, Bam actually has a matchup here. We can get him a better shot than we would Jimmy because Jimmy's going against an all-NBA defender. So maybe this could be something that is thrown into the mix because Bam actually gave you some confidence in making that shot.
And you know why you can't remember the X's and O's? Because there were none. They just threw the ball into him, and he took a couple of little hezzy dribbles, tried to get into his rhythm, and rose up and made the shot. So it was a great play, but there were a couple other plays, Eternal, late in that game. Banchero had 2 looks at the rim, and it was like we all were like, oh, no, what is about to happen here? Take us through those final 2 plays where you saw those misses from Paolo Banchero.
Well, to take the live pass from Gad and you, they had an inline pass to Bam over the top of Mo, and Bam was just able to get it at the nail, which we talked about on playback. Make sure you guys join us on playback or the free throw line, as me and Greg grew up with. Bam was able to get it, and he just looked real confident. Shoulders are relaxed, just took the shot, went through the net. Now the Heat are playing. They ended up. The game was crazy. Like, it wasn't a straight play. They ended up calling a timeout, like all of that. But once they got it down the court, it was Haywood on Paolo at the top of the key. Paolo is dribbling down. He works a little bit to the right, comes down. He gives Haywood a pump fake at first. Then he rises. Haywood stays down. Don't know why he stayed down. But he had a clear shot. All 16 of Paolo has a clear shot at the rim, and I think he's maybe 5 feet away. And thank God he missed the shot. But he got the rebound, and thank God he missed it like at point blank range. And Miami was just able to get the stop. So, and get the rebound. I'm sorry. And so they got out of there through a very, very up and down game. I just looked at it. They scored 56 points, Greg, Gad, in the first half. Both teams did not equal that. Like, they did not. The scoring in the second half was definitely not that. It was an in the mud kind of game, as Brian, our co-host, likes to say, it was in the mud. But they were able to get out of it, and you was able to see some bright points throughout the game from different guys.
Yeah, I know the Heat had to be 52 points in the paint. But the second half, the offense fell off the cliff. It felt like, just scoring wise. I was happy that they were able to get that final play because it was not just the score from Bam, but it was the stops on the other end.
Right.
Glad that y'all were able to articulate those better than I. We're going to go to some final thoughts and a quick look ahead. But before we do, just want to wrap with our Eric Rubenstein injury report.
And now it's time for the official 5 on the Floor injury report, sponsored by our friend Eric Rubenstein, the personal injury attorney. Born and raised in Lauderdale, Florida, lives in Miami, went to St. Thomas. He's a South Florida guy and a huge Miami Heat fan. But the important thing is he can help you get your money that you deserve when something happens to you. So reach out to our guy, Eric Rubenstein. Again, ericrubenstein.com, or Ask About Me, I Got You, on Instagram. And now, the injury report.
The injury report. So it's for tonight's game. No Jimmy, no Kyle. Caleb was back. We were happy for that. Haywood Highsmith looks good just because he's coming off an injury. I like to just give everyone an update there. I think we're in good shape. Here's the fun part. It appears as if Jimmy Butler will make his return probably Monday, So that is something to look forward to. And then for Tyler Hero, who missed the game, I don't know what's going on there. They said he had a shoulder issue, but I can't trace back when the final. Some people said it was on the final play of the game. I didn't see anything there that would say that he had any kind of shoulder strain that took place, but we'll see. Kyle Lowry continues to be out. I think he'll probably sit the next game as well. That's your injury report. The biggest news of that is that everyone needs to know Jimmy Butler is close to being back, and I think that that's something Heat fans can get excited about. We're about to get up out of here, but let's get some final thoughts. Eternal, coming back to you. Final thoughts on tonight's Heat victory and anything else you want to add to the broadcast.
I just think that you saw some really bright moments. Ball movement, player movement, things of that nature. You just want them to keep it up, right? Like, it really, really looks good when you have Nico, Bam, Jaime, and Duncan on the floor, because there's a lot of different actions that they run, and just guys being able to make the right plays. So it's, there's some things that Miami can get creative with that. Obviously, when the whole team is healthy, the rotation gets, who do you play, who you don't play. But I mean, that's a good problem to have. But looking forward to Sunday, and I'll throw this pass to Gad. It's a very, very special day on Sunday.
It's D-Wade Day, correct?
You got it.
Ticket
Hall of
prices
Fame.
are astronomical. Ticket prices are astronomical, first and foremost. But I'm excited to see what translates in order to get to that game. Based upon what we saw tonight, at least, listen, 96-99, you're not going to see that type of score every game in the NBA nowadays. But it is fun to see this team finally get a game in the mud and be able to pull it out. The important thing in the dog days of the season, at least to me, is just find ways to win. I think good teams will find ways to win. And the Heat have had to find a multitude of different ways because they have different lineups in every single night. They're playing against different teams like the Pacers, who can run up 140, or the Magic tonight, who couldn't even break 100 and couldn't even let us break 100. Find different ways to win. I think being able to win in a track meet or in a rock fight is really important come playoff time. They won in a rock fight tonight, and they did that without a lot of their players who are probably going to be featured in that rock fight, which means something to me. All they needed was their leader tonight in Bam and the rest of the crew, and they got it done. That's important. Win games. It's January. I understand seeding doesn't mean everything, but it would be nice to not have to play against the best teams in the NBA for basically 3 straight series come playoff time. I like the way that the Heat were actually able to pull this out tonight.
Absolutely. A rock fight. And you're right. Seeding does matter. Like, I think they do have to get the 4 seed. Like, I think there's something to that, to at least have one of the damn series start on your home floor and have all of the clinchers, the game 5s and 7s in your building would be nice. Thank you both for joining us. I have a feeling that the rock fight that engaged tonight will end up becoming a track meet when Charlotte arrives on Saturday, but you never know. We'll see. Excited that the Heat got the victory. They're in the mid. They're 7th in the East right now, but they're really amongst so many other teams that they could jump up to 4 at any moment. So just continue to watch those standings fluctuate. They got the next 2 against Charlotte and Brooklyn. Hopefully they can close the deal on both of those. Gad, Eternal, thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening, and we'll have you covered for that game leading up to Dwayne Wade night.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. After all, someone needs to listen to my dad.